Welcome to IFILM, Camilla.
Thank you.
This film is loosely based on the 1978 cult classic, When a Stranger Calls. Have you seen that film?
I haven't seen the film. I have not seen the original film.
Did you do that on purpose?
Well, originally, no. I don't really watch horror films. I don't really like to scare myself that much. So I had never really seen that many horror films, and I wasn't really aware of it, to be honest. And so then when I decided to do the film, I just didn't want to see it because I didn't want to make comparisons. I didn't want to be always having that film in the back of my mind. I really just wanted to start fresh like any other film.
The director said that he had to do a little convincing with you in order for you to take this role. What were your reservations?
I think the fact that it could be a horror film and not something I'd want to go see. I wouldn't want to go see a horror film. And that really was the biggest issue, is I didn't want to be involved in some gory film. And so then he had to tell me, no, it's not going to be a horror film. It's going to be a psychological thriller, and that's the type of film I want to make. It's a really classy film. And then after talking to him for a while and telling him some of the issues I had and what I thought about the beginning and something with the character and her development, and then we ended up really clicking, and his ideas really made sense to me and mine to him. So it ended up working out really well because we did the film together.
So you don't like feeling scared. You don't go to these movies. How hard was it for you to spend an entire shoot going there in your mind?
It was pretty difficult, to be honest. It was, and I kind of had to just prep myself every morning. Another day, we can do it. And before I started filming, I tried to watch a couple thrillers and old classics, like Hitchcock and Rosemary's Baby and Wait Until Dark, and also The Shining, and which I don't know how I saw it, but Jack Nicholson, he really did become my stranger, and that was always my inspiration. Every morning I'd kind of take the DVD box in my trailer and stare at his face, and that was always in my head throughout every phone call, and he kind of became that scary man on the other end of the line.
So now, not only do you have to make that believable, but you also have a 50 or so person crew around staring at you. How hard is it to block that out?
It's hard, but then, in more emotional scenes, I always try to keep the crew as minimal as possible, and the only people that have to stay there, because it's difficult, and a million people are watching, and someone's chewing gum, and another one's eating popcorn, and you hear all these noises around you, and you really have to focus and block everyone out. And I try to stay in a little corner by myself until they're really ready, and then I'll jump in and I'll do it. But you just have to kind of create an atmosphere that will work for you.
Have you personally had an experience where you were babysitting and you started to freak yourself out? Have you had one of those experiences?
Luckily, no. I mean, I never babysat in my life, so I had no experience with that whatsoever. So it was kind of all very new to me to be in this type of film and to be babysitting and to have these phone calls, because nothing had ever happened to me before. So it was interesting. But
the kids in this film, very young, very good, hysterical, crying. For an adult, it's easier for us to go there in our minds and imagine a situation that would scare you. Where were they going?
I tried to tell, we would all the time, and I would talk to them, be like, this is what's happening, this stranger is calling, and trying to get them to understand they are really intelligent kids, so they knew what was happening. We'd try to just remind them before each scene what had just happened before and what was going to happen, and to try to get them in that mindset. And they were incredible. They'd just start crying. You'd snap your finger and they'd start crying. I was like, I couldn't do that. And they were just really, really talented in that way. And we would also try to help them if they needed it, and try to have everyone in the crew be quiet so that they could focus and have their time to get in that mindset. And all three of us would try to just get in the mood for it.
Did they feed off you a lot? I mean, were you going there first and they were feeling your energy? And
I think we all just went there together. It was really just a group effort, and all three characters are struggling at the same time, so we all had to give each other that emotional support and try to help each other, and me being the older one, I kind of had to focus. I really had to focus myself, and so then they would see that I was really quiet, and kind of internal with myself, and they would start to copy me, and we would all kind of join forces and try to make it as believable as possible.
This is also a physical film for you. I don't want to give anything away, but there's a stair sequence, and there's some scenes in water. Did you enjoy that?
You know, I did. I did really enjoy. I've never gotten so many bruises in my life. I could hardly walk at the end of each day, and I had to ice myself and Epsom salt baths, and it was just endless amount of recuperation. But it was just, I wore my bruises with pride, and it was really so much fun. 'Cause I'd never done a film like this before with all this stunt work and fight sequences and getting really beat up, but it was really fun at the same time, as much as it hurt.
Well, the other more interesting aspect of this movie that's not horror and psychological is he made the house and the phone another character. Mm-hmm. How much was that an interesting part for you as an actress? You don't have characters to work off and other actors. Was that an interesting challenge for you?
Definitely was. And it was difficult to try to see that I really had to react off of a phone and Simon's assistant on the other line. And
not so scary.
No, not at all. Not at all. And then the house, and it really, at some points I was supporting the house. The house really was the star of the film and a lot of points in the film. So that was really interesting for me. I've been so used to having other actors to react off of, and it was challenging. But you kind of have to create things. I use those films I had watched to try to create the atmosphere for myself, and they made the house in a way that it was kind of creepy walking around. It was really dark in some areas, and people that came to visit the set like, wow, there's so many dark hallways, and shadows in the glass, and they just made it in a way to keep it really freaky, even though we were inside a soundstage and a crew of people were everywhere. It was still scary.
Most recently, we've seen you in The Ballad of Jack and Rose and Chum Scrubber. If your next film was your dream project, what would that look like to you?
Well, I've always wanted to do a musical my entire life, so I wish I could do a musical next, and just sing and dance and do everything that I've been doing since I was in diapers. So I would really love to do something like that. That would be a dream for me, but we'll see what happens.